SCP-2534. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures, SCP-2534-1 instances that have not passed their 2-year mark are to be kept in Containment Wing 14 of Site-32, individually wrapped in plastic and organized by their estimated recovery date. SCP-2534-1E is also to be contained in this manner. Only D-Class personnel are to handle, sort, and arrange these instances, to ensure no personnel are accidentally affected. A week prior to an SCP-2534-1 instance's estimated 2-year mark, it is to be held by a D-Class personnel to ensure ownership is transferred, then placed in a smaller temporary containment locker until the D-Class experiences the anomalous effect. This D-Class is subsequently prohibited from testing any currency-related SCPs. SCP-2534-1 instances that have manifested their anomalous effect are considered inert and are to be kept in a standard containment crate in Containment Wing 15 of Site-32. Inert instances may be used for testing at the consent of one Level 3 or higher researcher. Future uses have been proposed and are pending approval. Due to unpredictability of SCP-2534 occurrence, retrieval of SCP-2534-1 directly from manifestation is not feasible with current resources. An advertising campaign under the guise of a U.S. Mint recall of SCP-2534-1's characteristic printing error is ongoing. Social media websites and applications are to also be tracked to identify SCP-2534-1 instances. Bank owners, government officials, U.S. Mint employees, and other individuals legally involved in handling large amounts of currency are to be closely monitored for possibility of SCP-2534-1 acquisition. Upon confirming location of an SCP-2534-1 instance, Mobile Task Force Row 7, Ford's Theater, will be dispatched for retrieval. The date of original acquisition, or a rough estimate thereof, is to be acquired from subject in possession, and Class C amnestics are to be administered where necessary. Expanded Eurozone retrieval procedures are being prepared should any more instances of SCP-2534-1E be discovered. Subjects who have experienced the anomalous effects of SCP-2534-1 are to be administered Class B amnestics and detained in Site-32B. They are not to come into contact with any currency. Current global surveillance systems are to identify possible subjects by monitoring unusual circumstances such as cash disappearing, strange robberies, or other incidents. Ttt Description. SCP-2534 is a phenomenon which results in the manifestation of SCP-2534-1. SCP-2534 occurs almost always, see Addendum 2, in the United States 1. And only in areas commonly traversed on foot, such as sidewalks, parking lots, or the floors of public buildings. SCP-2534 manifestations have never been directly witnessed or recorded. Instances of SCP-2534-1 are United States pennies, in most cases too identical to current pennies. However, the printed minting year of SCP-2534-1 instances is always 2 years ahead of the year of original recovery. Instances display limited destructibility. 3. SCP-2534-1's anomalous effect will manifest exactly 2 years after it is first retrieved. 4. At that time, the coin's current owner will lose all United States currency on their person, property. 5, or otherwise in their possession, with the exception of instances of SCP-2534-1 and non-physical currency such as bank balances or credit cards. Property loss usually occurs via theft, loss, or sudden expenses, each of which usually appear non-anomalous in nature. Any new U.S. currency acquired by the subject is lost in a similar manner shortly after acquisition. This effect makes it impossible for an affected subject to handle or use any United States legal tender, and does not cease until the death of the subject. SCP-2534-1 ownership can be transferred among persons. SCP-2534-1 being given, stolen, used as legal tender, or otherwise handled by another person are all valid methods of transfer. If a subject loses SCP-2534-1, but it is not handled by another individual, that subject remains the current owner. Ownership cannot be transferred to animals, corpses, those already owning an instance of SCP-2534-1, or those who have already received SCP-2534-1's effect, after the subject has experienced SCP-2534-1's anomalous effect. The instance will become inert and cease any anomalous activity, plus show distincto determine SCP-2534-1 effects parameters, ID testing. Test 1, Subject, D103122, Note, D103122 has received SCP-2534-1's effect, and will be used to test the effects. Parameters, Procedure, D103122 is given $1 USD, and is instructed to hold onto it for as long as possible. Results, D103122 placed the dollar in her pocket. When the pocket was checked again, a hole had opened in the bottom of it, and the dollar was not present. Test 2, Subject, D103122, Procedure, a nickel, 5 cents USD, is taped to D103122's arm using transparent tape. Results, D103122 complained that the tape was too tight. When attempting to loosen it, the nickel fell out and rolled into a nearby grate. D103122 was unable to retrieve the nickel. Repeated tests all resulted in D103122 losing the nickel, despite any changed variables. Test 3, Subject, D103122, Procedure, D103122 is given $1 USD, $1 CAD, 100 Yen JPY, £1 GBP, €1 and 5.00 CNY. D103122 was then instructed to hold onto all the currency. Results, D103122 placed all currency in her other pocket. When the pocket was checked again, another hole was present in the bottom, but all currency remained except for the $1 USD. Test 4, Procedure, a quarter, 25 cents USD, is surgically inserted underneath the skin in D103122's leg. Results, the quarter remained in D103122's leg. At the time of writing, it has not been lost. It seems that the effect will not persist if the money in question is not readily available to D103122. More tests to determine the limits of this effect have been approved. Dr. 2 weeks later, D103122 underwent testing with SCP. During the testing, SCP wounded her leg, breaking the skin and releasing the quarter. D103122 was then quickly evacuated from the testing chamber. Addendum, Incident 2534S, on / the bank was robbed by 4 unidentified individuals. The entirety of the approximate $1 million the bank had in storage was stolen. When investigated, J.S., the owner of the bank, was confirmed to own an instance of SCP-2534-1. The instance was retrieved, and Mr. S was administered amnestics and relocated to Site-32B. Containment procedures were rewritten post-incident to ensure that no facilities or personnel important to the U.S. economy are affected by SCP-2534-1. Addendum 2, on / 2015, a thread was made on, a popular image-sharing website, on the topic of a misprinted euro the poster had discovered. In the thread, an image was included of a €1 center coin printed with the year 2017. The IP was traced to France, and MTF-07 was dispatched to retrieve the instance, now designated SCP-2534-1E. SCP-2534-1E was retrieved without error, date of retrieval was confirmed, and Class C amnestics were administered to the subject. SCP-2534-1E has retained the same physical properties as a normal SCP-2534-1 instance, see footnote 3, and it is assumed that it will have the same eventual effect as well. No other instances of SCP-2534-1E have since been reported or discovered. Footnotes 1. SCP-2534 has occurred in all 50 states. 2. Changes in SCP-2534-1 composition and design have been noted. For example, SCP-2534-1 instances discovered in 1980 contained mostly zinc, and instances discovered in 2008 displayed the Lincoln Union Shield on their reverse. 3. SCP-2534-1 instances have the same durability as an ordinary penny, but cannot be cut or separated into more than one piece, in either solid or liquid state. Any manipulated SCP-2534-1 instance holds the same eventual anomalous effect as an unaltered instance until the 2-year mark passes. 4. Roughly defined as being picked up by a human. Skin contact is not required. Tests are currently underway to determine the exact parameters of retrieval. 5. Regardless of whether or not the subject owns the cache on their property, see Incident 2534S for more details.